Adam.
Sorry. Third class.
Hi, how are you?
I'm alright, yeah. How are you doing?
Good. So, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm studying archaeology. I'm in first year. From a tiny town in Cumbria. What else? I go outside about once a year, and then only to climb trees. That's about it, really. Yeah.
So, what did you have for breakfast today?
I had some bread, which I had left over from yesterday. And that's it. Yeah. Wasn't particularly hungry for breakfast. Just gonna have some beans when I get back. Yeah, that's it, really.
What's your average morning like? What's your average day like as Adam?
It depends on whether I have stuff to do. If I have stuff to do, then I'll get up early, have an actual breakfast, and go do stuff for the entire day. And I'll get back at like midnight from doing whatever. But if I have nothing to do, I'll wake up at like 12, and then do basically nothing for 14 hours and then go back to bed. So yeah. But aside from that, not much.
What is nothing to you? So, what do you actually do? So, we can see here that you have some board games and
Yeah.
books next to you.
So if I have, I don't know, like actual plans, as in plans where I will leave my accommodation, then I'll do stuff for the entire day. But if I've got nothing planned for the day, then it just kind of turns into me doing nothing. So just like watching terrible YouTube videos or watching a TV series that I don't really want to watch, but I can't think of anything else to watch. Stuff like that, and not being at all productive. But yeah.
What was baby Adam like?
I don't remember. I don't know. I don't really remember much apart from like primary school, where I was very annoying and quite opposite to how I am now, which is a good thing. Yeah. Used to not be great.
What is the opposite of current Adam?
I just generally wasn't particularly nice. Used to be very annoying, and get on people's nerves a lot. And also think that because I used to do karate that I was strong, and I definitely wasn't. So yeah. Used to annoy people a lot, and yeah, just get on people's nerves.
So you said you've changed from that annoying child that you were.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I can't really decide like individually, but I don't seem to annoy people as much as I used to. So that's always a bonus.
Do you think something happened, or you just?
I moved, and then yeah, I don't know. I guess I got different friends and stuff. Because I moved twice, so because I was new to both places in a couple of years, it kind of just, I guess, changed how I went about things. I don't know. Yeah.
So, tell us a bit about, again, the board games and the books next to you. Why are they here? What are they to you?
Well, they're just things that I happen to have on me that I forgot to take out my bag, or things that I was going to go to the park and revise with, but I ended up coming here. So like, these are just board games that aren't the ones that take 6 hours to play, and are slightly more people who don't play 6-hour board game friendly. And these are just notepads full of random stuff, so like DnD stuff, revision notes, notes for like notes of notes, yeah. Yeah.
You said D&D stuff, so what's that?
So it's like a tabletop role-playing game. It's about creating characters and role-playing dice and stuff, or rolling dice and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of half chance, half be as stupid as possible and hope it pays off. Haven't really got around to playing it much yet, but yeah.
Why the book? The D&D book.
Oh, this one. Because in order to create a character, you've got to have kind of a set of guidelines, almost, in order to help you create one that fits within the universe. So it's kind of just an idea of giving you an idea of what kind of characters you can play. You can play stuff outside of it. It's just easier to create ones within it, at least to start with.
What about the notebook?
Which one?
Oh, the D&D notebook.
Oh,
the orange notebook.
The orange one is an old... Yeah, it's an old maths book. So it's just kind of a lot of ripped out pages and kind of rubbish stuff. But it's just kind of beginnings of a plan for a campaign. So I guess we'll see how that goes eventually. But yeah, I haven't really done much with it. And to be honest, it's literally maybe 20 minutes of playing, so it's not really much in there yet. But yeah.
What about the blankets that we're sitting on right now? I know that you brought them with you.
Yeah. So that's another thing, another weird thing, but yeah. So I keep blankets, a couple of blankets in my bag at all times, or if I've not got my bag on me, like I'll have them around my waist or something, just so I've got two at all times. One's a bit more practical in terms of carrying around than the other, but they're both useful. Yeah.
Why do you have them on you? Why useful?
So I have them on me because a while ago I used to first aid, or do first aid at St. John's, and one event that I was at, they weren't giving out blankets to people who were cold because they were like rationing them, but these were the last two people left and they wouldn't let me give them my coat because it was against protocol or something. So I was like, oh, I should have taken a blanket, and I have done since, and I just keep them on me. And then useful because while they're useful for like warmth, so it might not be particularly useful in terms of that now. They're useful like sitting on. I've used them as like belts and stuff before, or if I forget a shopping bag, you can fold them in ways to create an area to carry things, and yeah, they're just pretty useful. So I just keep them on me.
Okay, so what does friendship mean to you?
That's a jump. I don't know. It's kind of the ability to be like, to have a silence, because if you're talking to someone new, it's kind of always that awkward filling of gaps of like, oh, how are you doing? Like, what do you study, etc. And it's kind of quite awkward conversation, even though it's kind of necessary to want to start an actual conversation. So I guess friendship is, the sign of like being friends with someone, is not having to have that every time you meet them. So I guess there's always the kind of, how's your day being, how are exams going, etc. but then you can kind of just jump straight into a random conversation about something, because you know you're interested in the same things, or like that's something that that person's interested in. I don't know. I guess it's one of those undefinable things that's kind of different for everyone, and not just different for like everyone would describe it differently, kind of different in terms of individual people that you're friends with, because you could say, oh, I'm friends with like someone on my course, and you're friends with that person because you spend time with them on your course, so you're talking to them a lot, so you talk, but it's kind of course based, you don't really see them outside of it much. But then there's people who you meet like just randomly through societies or something, who you end up meeting up with because you want to, and because you're like actually good friends with them. So I guess there's varying levels, and each level's, I guess, independent, and kind of everyone reaches it at a different point, and you might be good friends with someone who you don't really speak to much, but you've had better conversations with, I guess, than someone who you speak to on a daily basis, but you kind of have just the how are you doing kind of conversations.
Do you climb trees with friends much? Something you mentioned earlier.
No, So I enjoy climbing trees. My issue with climbing trees with people is there's almost an added level of danger, because it's good, but it's not really like a cooperative activity. You can't really, even though you think you would be able to, if you're climbing a tree and then you're trying to help somebody get into it, like get into the tree, or help someone get out of the tree, it's quite hard once you're either above or below them. But no, I guess I've only really done it once or twice. I don't know, I guess it would probably change depending on who you were climbing with as well. Don't know, it kind of adds, it makes it different. Whereas I climb trees to, I guess, because you don't really think about anything else when you're doing it. Whereas if you're climbing with someone, you're constantly thinking about other things because you're not thinking about climbing the tree itself. But I guess that's good in some ways compared to climbing it on your own. Especially if you do fall out of the tree, because if you climb on your own, you're a bit done. Yeah.
Do you prefer cooperative games?
Sometimes. It depends who I'm playing with. So if it's people I don't know particularly well, or people who yeah, I guess it A, depends on people, and B, kind of depends what kind of games you're playing. So board games, cooperative games can be really good, but they're usually really good with people you tend to find that people you don't spend that much time with, so that you're kind of icebreaker type things. So you're all working together to try and defeat the board or the game, rather than in the same way if you're playing a more competitive game, you can kind of, it's good to do it with people you're good friends with, because often the best kind of in-game rivalry is someone who you're good friends with, but then in the game you're just constantly messing up each other's game, as long as it's obviously confined to the game and not getting out of hand and making everyone outside of the game kind of annoyed and angry. But I kind of like games that are a mix of the two. So probably the first like board game that I bought was called Betrayal at the House on the Hill, and that's a kind of, you start off all friends, and then it turns out one of you has actually kind of lured everybody else there to kill them or do whatever. That's quite a good system of gaming to start off cooperative or have cooperative elements, but then at the same time there's also a bit of like, oh, who's going to be the traitor? Is there one kind of thing? Yeah.
So another jump. What has been your biggest struggle in life, do you think?
Biggest struggle? Getting out of trees is always hard. I don't know. I have a habit, I guess, of getting very attached to one thing or like a person or a group of people for a while, and then like becoming really good friends with them, but then or like spending a lot of time doing that thing or like waiting for that thing to happen, and then over like a period of like a week, if I don't speak to people, or like if it's a thing that I'm getting particularly obsessed with, like a game or something, there'll just be like a tiny thing that throws. I guess it's more with people. So if it's like, for example, the people that I'm friends with from sixth form and at home, I've spoken to 2 of them in the last month. One of them I hadn't spoken to since September, and the only reason I spoke to them the other day was to wish them happy birthday. So like, I don't really talk to people unless I'm able to meet up with them in person. So I guess my biggest problem is keeping a connection with people over time, in terms of via Messenger or via like texting and stuff, because I'm not particularly great at keeping in touch with people. So, yeah.
What is your stance on social media?
I think it's useful. I wouldn't say it's like good or inherently bad, but it's useful in terms of for keeping in touch with people when I do message people, and it's quite a casual way of messaging someone as well. So for example, if I'm texting someone happy birthday and I have their number, then I'll text them it. But if I don't, then there's kind of a hierarchy of, if it's someone's birthday, I would rather say it in, like, happy birthday to them in person, or call them, then text them, and like messaging them is right at the bottom via like social media, because it just seems very kind of impersonal almost. And I guess that's kind of the biggest problem, is that it's everything you do seems kind of impersonal, because it's kind of almost an extra layer of like disconnect between social media and you, as opposed to texting, or because it's somehow, even though it's directly a message to you, it somehow feels less direct than a text message or a call.
What do you plan to do next year?
Next year?
Short plan. Do you have a short plan?
I guess I'm just going to carry on with my course. Having said that, I guess we'll see, because I have a feeling I might not be. Yeah, I don't really have many plans for next year as such. I kind of want to limit the amount of stuff that I'm doing, but also there's a bunch of other stuff that I want to do that I've not even thought about doing this year. So yeah, I'll see. I try not to make overarching plans, because I've done that in the past for like New Year's resolutions of like, oh, these are 30 New Year's resolutions to stick to, and then you just stick to like none of them. So yeah, I don't really have a general plan.
Well, what are you scared of?
I'm not really scared of anything physical. So like spiders and clowns and heights or whatever. Like I used to be scared of heights, but they're all kind of things you can name, and like if you can name something, it somehow has less power, or you have more power over it because you can control what you're calling it. Whereas if it's something you can, like, you don't really have a name for, or something that's kind of just like a little bit awkward, or I guess like just something that's not really a thing, it exists without existing almost.
Can you give us an example?
So I guess just like getting in the way, like it's not so much a fear, it's kind of just that I hate the idea of getting in the way or annoying someone. So it's like one of the reasons why I don't message people a lot is because I just don't want to bother them. So like one of my like things that I hate doing is if like feeling like you're invited to something, or if you're invited to something, like being invited to it almost because you have to be invited to it, or like doing something like spending time with a group, or being asked to spend time with a group because they feel like you should be spending time with, like they feel like they should invite you rather than them wanting to invite you. So like because I think I'd honestly rather people didn't invite me to something because they didn't want me to go, rather than inviting me to go purely on the basis that I'm part of like the bigger group. So I guess like it's not so much a fear, but the biggest thing that I try to avoid is getting in the way or annoying people. So yeah.
Why do you think you're annoying?
I don't. It's not really a question of, I guess, knowing that, or thinking that I'm annoying. It's more a question of, could I potentially be being annoying? Which doesn't really make much sense, but like, you know how if you're wanting something, even if there's like a slither of chance that it could happen, like a tiny percentage chance, there's still that idea of hope that you've got. So I don't really have a good example, but for example, like if you like someone, and you think there's a potential chance that they'll like you back, even if it's tiny and you're pretty sure that they won't, like with a tiny amount of chance, you're still going to hold on to that kind of tiny chance, as opposed to thinking about the whole like bigger like thing. So I guess even if I don't think I'll be annoying that group, and I know that like that group have said, or that person has said, oh no, you're not annoying me by messaging me or whatever, there's still like there's a 1% chance that I could be, and therefore I don't know, I guess my brain latches onto that kind of idea of potentially being annoying. So yeah.
What about being on the other side? Have you been annoyed by other people? Do people annoy you? What do you find annoying about other people?
Not as much as I annoy myself. So like, I get annoyed by people, but not on the basis that they're annoying me more than they're annoying other people. But I guess if someone does annoy me, it's probably because they're doing something that I used to do, or that I do. Like something tiny that annoys me. So it's kind of, in a way, relating it back subconsciously to to like something that I do that annoys me a little bit, even if it's something tiny, like just occasionally like I'll not like someone for no particular reason, so it's probably just something based subconsciously on something I do or used to do, because there's not really many people that I don't like, I dislike, or that I couldn't spend time with.
So it seems like not so much people upset you. When was the last time that you cried?
Last time I cried,
Yeah. And why? If you don't want to answer, it's fine.
I don't know. It'll have been in the last week sometime. And it'll probably been something nonsensical, like I finished a series or something. But yeah, like most of the time, I don't really cry over things that have like tend to end up crying just randomly, as opposed to crying because something's hurt or annoyed me, because at that point I just kind of find a way to, like, if I can find a solution to deal with something, I'll deal with it that way, or deal with another problem and then go back to it. Yeah, I guess I tend to cry randomly as opposed to because something has triggered it. Yeah. I think the last time I properly cried about something will have probably been the end of my last exam during sixth form. Because it was kind of like I was just on the bus, like nobody else from my year had gone in that day, because it was my last exam. I think it was one of the last ones, and I think the only people that got the bus back with me had gone home earlier. So yeah, I think the last time I properly cried was probably on the bus back at the end of my A-levels. And it wasn't so much, I don't really know. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with crying. Like, if someone apologised for crying, I always find it very weird. Because it's so much better than other things that you could do. Like, it's necessary for a start, and then it releases like a huge amount of emotion that the only other way that you can really release that amount is through getting angry. So like, it's good for both you because you're getting it out, and also it means that people know that you're upset, can come and help you if you need it, or give you space if that's what that's what you prefer. But then also it means that other people around you aren't getting hurt by you lashing out, either with physically or verbally. So yeah.
When was the last time you got angry? Do you get angry?
Not angry. I guess I get wound up by like small little things, but it's not really like angry. I just tend to get a little bit annoyed for like 5 minutes, and that's about it. Don't really know when the last time I got angry was. Yeah, I guess I don't really need to. Yeah, because you can always really kind of tell when I'm a little bit annoyed, because I don't really know what I do, but apparently you can. So like, at sixth form you could always tell if somebody had annoyed or made me angry via just how I would speak to them. Not in like a negative way. I think I just changed my tone of voice ever so slightly, or spoke more or less than I used to. So yeah.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Usually when I think about this, I have two answers. One of them is the joke answer of being able to summon blankets at any time, and also being able to choose like the type of blanket that I needed, and just be able to like pull it out of like a pocket so I don't have to carry blankets around. That would be quite useful. And then my more serious answer is like telepathy, but not in just a kind of mind reading way, in a kind of ability to mind read, but also I guess be able to help deal with problems that people aren't necessarily wanting to speak about. And I don't mean in a kind of just do this kind of way. I mean in a kind of plant an idea like, oh, it'll get better or whatever, and kind of almost like the Inception thing of like planting an idea, but instead of trying to extort money from someone, just plant the idea of like the problem's not going to last forever or whatever, and I guess deal with problems that way. Alternatively, being able to give other people superpowers would be a pretty good superpower, because then you could just be really lazy and do nothing but get everybody else to deal with things.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years.
A proper interview question.
In 10 years, I don't know. Like I said, I don't even have a general plan for next year.
Do you want to know?
No, because then that means it's already decided. So like if you were told, oh, this is going to happen and this is going to happen, it would essentially just become like you're watching like a film or taking part of like an interactive cutscene in a game, rather than actually like taking part, kind of thing. So it's as if you were, I don't know, like playing DnD or something, and like essentially the entire game was just somebody telling you that you're doing all this stuff, rather than you actually playing any of the game. It's kind of, it would almost become backstory or like past events, even though they're in the future, because you know they're going to happen. So technically it's the past, because you know they're going to happen and you already have all the information about them. So if there's nothing you can do about them, essentially it's a kind of past thing, because if there's no solution, then it's something you don't really need to think or worry about, because it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So no, I don't think I would want to know.
Having said that, where do you see yourself? Just close your eyes. It's 10 years from now. It's 2028.
2028.
What's that doing?
Not a lot. So I have a problem where I can't picture anything. So like if I try and picture someone's face, I can't physically picture someone's face. I can just remember what they vaguely look like. So I can describe like hair and eye colour and stuff, but I can't like picture someone, even my parents or people I've known for a long time. So I guess picturing anything is pretty difficult without wanting something or having people that you want to be spending time with in 10 years. Like, unless you directly have an idea of, yeah, I want to be with this person and like we've made a plan to go do this, or yeah, I want to be able to do this or whatever, there's no, you can't, I find it very difficult to picture future events without specifically having already decided that I want to do that at some point. So yeah.
So, what have you learned from playing games? A lot of games.
If I learn, I guess the first thing is just trial and error. Like a lot of playing video games on board games and video games and stuff is just seeing what works and trying different things until it does work. But at the same time, also knowing when to stop trialing things. So if you're like going through a list of like, yeah, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, there's got to be a point at which you stop trying that and do something completely different. I guess also problem solving type stuff. So just thinking in a different way to just generically, I'm going to do this, kind of thinking, well, what if you could do this, even if it's not necessarily possible with like what you're doing. Think, yeah, like hypothetical, almost thought experiments. What else have I learned? Sometimes stupidity pays off, although not always. So, yeah. But I guess that's just doing something different. I guess also trying something. It's like just do, if something sounds interesting or you think you might enjoy something, then it's usually worth having a go. Because even if you don't enjoy it, it's kind of, you can just move on from it. Especially like kind of school to uni. It's almost like a period of like tutorials. So it's kind of like it's kind of like if you mess something up, you can redo it, kind of thing. Especially with like exams and stuff. It doesn't always necessarily impact on the rest of like life or the game or whatever. So yeah.
So, what would be the word that describe Adam the most? Any words? If you can't think of any, it's fine.
You can have multiple ones as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. To be fair, I think that's a pretty good phrase that summarizes most of the things I do, which is just I don't know. Yeah, I guess that summarizes it pretty well. Yeah.
Any advice you'd like to give to anyone watching this video?
Not in particular. I guess people watching it will have a reason for watching it. Whether that's because like, you know, me, and for whatever reason want to watch me for 20 minutes or whatever talk. Whether, you know, like somebody else who's watched, like has recommended these videos, or like, you know, the people behind the camera and asking questions stuff. And so you just, or whether you're like watching it because like you find like the title interesting, whatever the title's going to be. Yeah, I guess there's, so I guess giving advice would be almost contradictory to kind of you watching this video for, I don't know, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I guess the only advice that kind of I would give, and it's the only quote I've ever said, which I don't mind, or wrote down that I don't mind, is just be, even for a little while. If you're going to be bold or kind or brave or stupid or whatever, just be, because what's the end of that quote? There is an end to that quote. Be who you want to be, as opposed to necessarily, yeah,